strange introduction back to the NBL after a couple of years out then. So 3 years with Sydney you've signed for. Why come back? I imagine you would have been offered jobs everywhere. What lured you back to the country and what lured you back to the team?
I initially came back in COVID. I was in China when it broke out. Nobody knew what was going on here. It was a strange story, and I had no idea about COVID. And I just got a knock on the door saying everybody's got to go home. And I'd been there close to 12 years. And I'm like, go home. You know, what's going on here? And it's like, people are sick. You have to go home. So long story, I end up back in Australia, and the Wollongong job becomes available. And the guy that was becoming part owner there was a good friend from the Sydney Kings. And we enjoyed each other's company. We had a great relationship during our time in Sydney. And the excitement of being with him, and again, when you get offered a job at the stage of my life, it either really excites you or it's like, you know, this isn't for me. And the thought of coming back to Australia that time, because I knew there was energy going towards the NBL, a lot had changed. I left after coaching the Dragons and winning a championship. I left. It was on a downslide. And you knew, even through Asia, there was talk about what was going on in the NBL. I always kept my eyes on it. And I thought, this is a great opportunity because the team had finished bottom. And I get an opportunity to start and build something. So I went there, and during the course of that 2-year period, I was more than happy to stay in the NBL and coach the Wollongong Hawks. I absolutely loved it. I thought you did a great job. The league did a great job through COVID. I mean, in my time, everybody was going, oh, man, there's no fans here. We got to stay in these places. I said, hey, if it would have been when I was in it last, the whole thing would have folded. I thought they did a great job through COVID. When we came out of COVID, we got it going in Wollongong. You know, the team had come from last. We'd finished 2 times in a row. But I had, during my process in China, the guy that became my agent, and I've never had an agent, but I needed an agent because I couldn't speak Chinese, was an American guy that had lived there and gone to school there, college there, and had a vision of an international, a Euro League of Asia. And we talked about it for the 7 years that he was my agent. And I said, if you ever make this happen, I got no problem being your coach. So I got a phone call from him in my second year saying, this is on, it's going to happen, and I want you to be my coach. I said, if you get it over the line, I'm in. So it's a league called the EASL, Chinese Taipei, Korea, the Philippines, China. And the big picture for me was Australia, because I think and when you talk about what Larry Kesselman's done in this, he's made this a world competition a reality. We got people we can get into that later, but I have a vision of us playing a EuroLeague competition, playing Beijing in Beijing, playing, in Seoul, that sort of thing. So I went there for that build. And the league is going and it's moving forward, but the team I was associated with represented China, and China wouldn't put their team in. So we played in the Philippines domestic league, and I had some Chinese players and some Americans, and we had a great season, but it wasn't a long-going thing. So that thing blew up, spit out, and I was sitting back waiting for the Olympics to go, and the opportunity to coach the Sydney Kings arose. And again, a no-brainer. This right now, this league, I think for anybody is an exciting proposition for what's going on here right now, for players, for coaches, for every aspect of it. It's an exciting job. Any job here right now. So to get the opportunity to coach the Kings, come back to Sydney, being a team in an organization that I knew about, that I understood, again, was a no-brainer, and I couldn't be happier to be, finishing up my career back at home in a league that is really headed for greatness.
The energy that you speak with, the energy that people can see from you on court, like it's amazing for someone who's been in the industry for so long that you still have this amazing abundance of energy. Have you been able to maintain that? You're 71 years old. You look like you're 50. Like it's amazing how you've been able to just keep doing all this. How do you maintain the rage?
I think it's change. I really do, and I think I've been so blessed that I've had, I haven't been the coach of the Magic for 30 years. It was like I'm in the prime of my life. I'm in some place that I don't need anything else in my life. I'm not thinking boomers. I'm not thinking, I'm at home. I'm in Melbourne where I am. And from that point, I have been just constantly, the NBL at that time was just so volatile. You coach the Kings to 3 championships, and in the middle of the season, firepower comes in. It's going to fold. And then you go to the Dragons, you win the championship, it folds. You're with the Melbourne and they become the Titans, it folds. So you're getting bounced around, and you're changing places, changing challenges, putting teams together, and then get spit out completely and go to Asia and bounce from the Philippines to Japan to China. Then you get the national team. You're with the national team walk into China and you're with all Chinese, Yao Ming, Gigi Wang, Zhou Qi. You're all 7 feet, 7'3", a military China base with all Chinese. The situation I'm describing to you is energy. So I've constantly had been challenged and been in my passion. So, I feel right now, I know that I'm building something, and I feel like it's my first year in it. And I think being around the young, being in your passion, and constantly changing and being challenged has kept me alive and energetic and how I am.
How thrilled are you to have Xavier Cooks in your team and the other stars that you have to work with, so that you've got multiple people? You can go to Jalen Adams, you spoke about the other day, and you look through your roster at the moment, it is stacked.
Well, when I got the job, there was only 2 people signed. So, if you go, our new owner, Robin, tells that her vision is the community, the Sudanese community, building, getting out back into the community, the grassroots. She was once a fan. And the face of ours, like Bryce Cotton is yours, when I got it, I've only signed 2 guys. I want to bring Xavier Cooks back to Sydney, not just for the back. He is the face of the franchise, and I think he becomes the face, one of the faces, as Bryce is in the league. And to me, when the NBL says it's the second best competition in the world, right? Everyone's saying that that's what it is. Well, why the hell? NBA, I get it. But if they're not playing in the NBL, why the hell aren't they playing here? If it's the second best competition in the world. So I felt like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to go there and do whatever I can to bring him back to the organization, because it's more than the 16 points and it's more than the 12 rebounds. He brings an energy and an enthusiasm to our game and to our city. And once we got that done, all the dominoes fell in place. I mean, I don't remember. I missed out on the first guy before him that I went after. After that, every player I went to, we got going. Once we got Xavier in, all the dominoes fell in place.
So is that a case of everyone wants to play with him? So once you get the big dog, people go, oh, yeah, we want to play with this guy.
You're serious about winning, and it says a lot about the franchise. And as they've just done a poll on the best player in the league, the player that most players want to play with. He was number 1 by a ways. Most of the players in the league, he is that kind of guy. He's a great person off the floor, and and when you're playing with him, again, he's different. They're when you do compare those two as for the best player in the league. I get that, but they're totally different. Bryce is a killer. He will, like the last game you saw, it's a game, and then whack, 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 it's over. Xavier is more a guy that makes everybody else around him better. So a guy that, you're open, the ball's there. He draws two, he finds you. He just does things that helps the guys around him. He's not a prolific scorer or a guy you give the ball to and clear out and say, go score. He's a different dude. And in that way, he's the kind of guy, and I can see it in coaching him now, of why you would like to play with him.